The Assembly passed same-sex marriage last night for the fourth time. That means many members who had already debated the bill 3 times before got to sound off once again. That did not, however, stop several members from giving impassioned speeches on the issue, including Hudson Valley Republican Joel Miller, who spoke in favor of passing the bill. I believe he was one of just 3 Republicans to vote yes. Assemblyman Miller is joining me now to talk about his vote. Assemblyman, how are you?
Well, I'm fine. I really am.
Good. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So this was not the first time that you had voted yes. In fact, you are living proof that one can be Republican, vote yes on gay marriage, and not pay a political price, right?
Well, you pay somewhat of a political price, but you make it up. You know, this is something that cuts both ways, and so it's true. Many conservatives decided they had enough of me because I'm also a strong supporter of a woman's right to choose. But this was a particular issue that they felt very, very strongly about. But I will tell you that in the last 2 campaigns, I campaigned on the fact that I had voted for gay marriage.
Really?
And as you pointed out, I'm still here. Yeah, I think it's important for people not to put labels on political parties. At least that's how I feel. Frankly, I don't like either party. I don't think any party has all the answers. And my view of representative government is, hey, you elected me. I go to Albany, I do things the way I believe they're right, and if you don't like me, you don't have to elect me the next time.
Well, let me ask you this then.
I don't poll my people.
Do you believe that your colleagues across the way there on the other side of the aisle, the senators, should actually vote on this? I would expect that you do.
I would like to vote on them if they can get their ducks in order and actually approve it. I think that sometimes in Albany, you know, this becomes not a matter of whether an issue is right or wrong, but, and it's hard to say, you know, pandering to your constituency. I mean, we've been elected by our constituents. We're supposed to do what our constituents want.
Sure. But
sometimes, you know, what the constituents want are wrong. And if you just look at California, how many times have they passed things that they then have to rescind? So I think you're supposed to rise against the, you know, the sense that whatever the party wants, you do. I think that was ever right. And this is an issue that time has come. I mean, this is America. And starting with George Washington said basically that the government of this country, as young as it was, would give no quarter to bigotry or persecution.
Assemblyman.
And
let me just interrupt you for 1 second. I'm sorry. Who is the senator who overlaps with your district?
Senator Saland.
Okay, he is an undecided. I thought that's who it was. He's an undecided. Have you spoken to him about this? Have you lobbied him at all and urged him? You have. What have you said to him?
Yes, I have.
What do you believe he'll do?
I basically told him that this was an issue that was right, and that it was time, as even if you talk about it from a civil rights standpoint. You know, no one knows how large the gay community is, and that's one thing. No one knows even whose loved one, whose relative, whose, you know, aunt, uncle, cousin, nephew, son, daughter, mother, father. You don't know. And the truth is that we tax our gay community the same as we tax everyone else. And they should be entitled to the same, and it says so in the Constitution, equal protection under the law.
So then,
now,
do you believe that Senator...
And I have said all of this to him.
You have. So do you believe that Senator Saland actually is considering a yes vote, assuming that the leadership brings this to the floor?
Right. He is considering a yes vote. And that's all you can say until it actually happens.
Of course. You know, it's interesting. Last night during the debate, and as I mentioned, the debate was quite impassioned. You spoke for quite some time, actually. One of your Republican colleagues, Nancy Calhoun, said that she felt like opponents, and she voted no, had been treated unfairly, and that they had been oppressed in some way. What do you say to that? That people who are voting no are being vilified as bigots, basically?
Well, it's you know, I take a different view. I mean, frankly, as an individual, people are a lot nicer than the vote would have shown. I think too many of my colleagues are afraid, in many cases particularly, of one church entity or the other, where churches have a lot of influence in their community. They are afraid to buck that church. And that's a sad thing. I mean, I believe that, you know, in the founding fathers were far more afraid of the influence of church on government than the government on the church. And certainly, you know, in Spain, right, 1492, the church ran everything. And you know, I believe in that separation, and I love that comment someone made, that you put your hand on the Bible and you swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York. You do not put your hand on the Constitution and swear to uphold religious values.
Okay, Assemblyman.
We should have that separation.
Before I let you go, and obviously the Capitol's pretty noisy down there, I'm sorry about that. I do want to ask you this, though. Advocates, gay marriage advocates, have been talking about how they will support people who vote yes, particularly those people who cross the aisle to vote yes. You are a Republican who has voted yes now twice, at least, right? How many times have you voted yes now?
3 times.
3 times, okay.
3 times.
Did they make good on that promise to you? Did those advocates support you?
Yes, they did. After the first vote, they did. And then it became apparent that I would get reelected, and they turned their money and support and resources to other people. But again, as you point out, there were only 3 of us that voted yes, and that's not a very large group to have to support. But I have not received money from that group for 2 elections, but I think that their idea was wonderful. And truly, you can lose an election on a single issue if people want that. But I think the people in my district are far brighter than that, and I depend on them to be intellectual, civil, and reasonable. Just to close here, the vote was actually fairly close, 80-63. And in the past, it had been 85-61, and then in 09, it was 89-52. Were you surprised by how narrow this is? And do you think we should take something away from this to mean that for some reason their support is slipping? Well, you know, I think with the advent of the Tea Party and a move to a more conservative view by certain members because of what's happening in Washington and how they perceive the electorate, I think that they've done that, and I think they're unwilling to take a chance. But I'll tell you that most of the Democrats who voted no, it was based on strong church influence in their area, and for the Republicans who voted no, it was similar, plus also, you know, the threat of the Tea Party and you know, that extreme right wing. It's very clear to people up here that I am far from the extreme right wing, and I really think the further you get from the center, the more wrong you can be. But this is an issue of civil rights, and you have to remember that this is America, and there really is no room for prejudice anywhere in this country. And to pick on one group, you know, for their sexual orientation, I mean, frankly, it's no one's business. It really isn't. And this idea of traditional marriage, you know, traditional marriage, as pointed out, is a man owned his wife as if she was a piece of chattel, and he could beat her anytime he wanted. Try that today. That tradition just doesn't work anymore. Oh my. Okay, I think we're going to leave it there before this devolves into a very fascinating conversation. I want to thank you very much, Assemblyman Miller. It is really good to see you. Thanks for making time for us. Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you. Be well.